I can't see that anything will stop this ground invasion. I think anything short of a full-scale Hamas surrender negotiated through a third party, which there's no sign of. Anything short of that will not stop a ground invasion. And so then the only real question is who else joins in. From the very start of this war, this latest round of fighting, Netanyahu has been very clear that he is not going to hold back in any sense at all, or for any reason at all. We expect a attempt to take over Gaza, pretty much, at least the northern half of Gaza, where most of the Hamas operations are based. Though I wouldn't rule out a move into Khan Yunis and taking over the whole of the Gaza Strip. And they are intending to remove and destroy not only the Hamas leadership, but as many Hamas fighters as they can. And they will do so mainly with a tank-led invasion into the main population centers. But they will have naval operatives, commandos attacking from the sea as well. And of course, we've seen the scale of the air raids on Gaza at the moment. The day before yesterday, they went in to certain, they haven't exactly said what for, but or where, but certain places. They retrieved, they said, some bodies of missing Israelis from the raid last weekend. They will be doing this for a little while, I think, setting the way, scoping operations for the full-scale invasion. They've built their own rocket supplies. They're quite well supplied on that front. They don't have anything that could take on a highly professional army like Israel's. They will presumably have prepared booby traps and sort of urban warfare type resistance. They would have known exactly what would come next from Israel. So I imagine that's one of the things that the Israeli preparatory raids are there to look for, to find how they can safely get their tanks in. We live in an era where the tank is no longer so invulnerable particularly from drone-led explosives, which can do a lot of damage. Drone-delivered explosives, I mean by quite small, commercial drones can deliver explosives and do a lot of damage to a tank now. So that's a fairly new era we're in. What we don't have any sense of is what their longer-term plan is. I mean, we assume, and we may be wrong about this, of course, but we assume that their army can pretty easily and swiftly, in war terms, in weeks rather than months, take over Gaza and achieve what one would have thought of as military goals, namely to take over Gaza. Whether how you root out Hamas fighters who may have returned to civilian life in some sense, be with their families if that's what they do, is one thing. And the second question is, what do you do afterwards? I mean, Hamas were the ruling authority in Gaza. What kind of ruling authority will they leave behind? I mean, it doesn't make much sense, it seems to me, to go in, eradicate a whole bunch of people from Hamas and then just withdraw, leaving nothing in its place, because the danger is then that something even more radical would take its place. There will still be people who can make contact with Iran and other organizations like Hezbollah that will help a militant group rebuild. Maybe the Israelis will say, well, that happens. Or will they in some way try and establish some new ruling authority, or perhaps stay there as an occupying power as they did before, after 1967? We don't know what they're going to do there. So that's as we have seen in Iraq and in Afghanistan in the last 20 years, going into a place to get rid of the ruling authority you don't like is one thing. Working out what to do next is another. I can't see that anything will stop this ground invasion. I think anything short of a full-scale Hamas surrender negotiated through a third party which there's no sign of. Anything short of that will not stop a ground invasion. And so then the only real question is who else joins in.